And I've mentioned this a number of times before, but I mention it again, but, you know, not reading poetry is one of Greek people's favorite pastimes, you know, despite our tradition of poetry. I had a poet, we had a poet at the Centre called Athens Centre that was Auden's secretary, W.H. Auden's secretary, and in one of his volumes that was published by the Burke Library in New York, the Burke collection, it has most of the collection of Auden. There was one little note from Auden about poetry that I thought was very apt, and I just thought I'd mention it to you here this evening. He said, actually it was a few words that Auden said as a memorial to W.B. Yeats. He said, "For poetry makes nothing. It survives in the valley of its making. It's a way of happening." We're really living in an interesting time here in Greece. It's actually no different than what it was 2,500 years ago, as I was reading from the Ecclesiastes, play by Aristophanes, of how, you know, they were complaining about the leaders of Greece, and, you know, the next leaders would be just as incompetent, and so on and so forth. And I have noticed that in times of turmoil, in times of, you know, angst in a country where the country is going to its soul, that there's a larger output of literary activity, including poetry, you know, like just before or just after the Second World War in Germany. In a letter that George Seferis wrote to Henry Miller in 1940, he said something that I thought was very apt. He said, "If you were here with us now, in Greece, you would feel very deeply, I'm sure, this extraordinary spirit which has spread all over the country like a fire that says no to everything we hate. Something is happening in Greece now." I would like to welcome you all here to Athens Centre this evening. It's always a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to see you, and I'm always grateful that you take the time and the effort to come here. Not only supports the centre, but it gives us an opportunity to see you and meet you, and it gives many people who are poets, who probably, you know, do not find many venues, you know, for their poetry, to be able to read their poetry and share some of their thoughts and experiences with you. Katherina Anghelaki Rooke I've known for many years. She's read here many times before. Alexis Stamatis is reading here for the first time this evening. And the poets will be introduced tonight by Alicia Stallings, who directs our poetry workshop in Athens. Thank you so much for coming.